To all the Latino men in the world who like black girls, who think we are beautiful, thank you. Because y'all give us the sweetest compliments. Y'all have just said the most beautiful things. Hola, mami. Hi. Su pelo es muy bonita. Gracias. Latino men, we love y'all. We love y'all. Keep loving on us, because ain't nobody else trying to love on us. Keep loving on us. Please keep giving us those compliments. Y'all make us feel so beautiful.
I'm going to use my voice. If you're coming in here for anybody, these people are my people.
Men or Dominican men?
I like black men.
Y'all, it is something about natural hair and being in South America. Both Brazil and Colombia, the men, I don't know. I don't know. I don't experience this type of catcall in New York.
This is for all the Latinos out there who think that this is not their fight. Latinos are a mix of black, European, and Taino. So don't for a second forget where you came from. We are brothers and sisters and therefore should stand together. Don't be silent.
The last video I made on Latino this, and black people flip. And many black persons said that black people should not get involved in Donald Trump's deportation of Latinos. And this is not black people's fight. However, in this video, I will highlight how many black people support Latinos, and Latinos also support black people. This video is a teaching moment for us to understand that there's more that unites us compared to what divides us. Let me give credit to all the persons video that I've compiled here. People, let's ride into the video.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. But the problem is our communities are divided. For Asian Americans and for African Americans, we probably have one of the worst relationships between any community.
Well, I bet you a lot of Asian Americans too don't, in my experience, don't even realize that if it wasn't for the civil rights movement, there would not be 22 million Asian Americans in this country.
Thank you. What I have been trying to teach the Asian community is like, friends, do you understand that your success, your prosperity, your civil rights that you enjoy right now was paid for with black blood?
I called out the racism and colorism in the Latina community and got so many comments like this one. What about black people being racist against Latina people? Let's talk about it. First of all, a lot. Millions of Latina people are black, which seems to be something that a lot of you commenting this continuously forget, which in and of itself is colorism. Now, why have I never addressed this, even though there's many videos on my page that you can find about me addressing the colorism and racism in my own community? It's because I'm not black. I come from indigenous Mexican people. I feel confident talking about issues from my own community. Do I know what you're talking about? Yes. Have I experienced it myself? Last time was yesterday when we went shopping with my dad before he left back to Mexico, and we were speaking in Spanish, and the person at the store kept basically racially profiling us throughout the entire store until I got fed up and left. And yes, that salesperson was a black woman that then made a comment to another salesperson about the fact that my dad is paying with only cash because she remembered us from the day before. In that moment, I did not call her out when she basically called my dad a narco. The reason why is because I respect the boundaries of my dad and he doesn't want me to do that. I spent my whole life defending him because I have a lot of white privilege. And I know and respect that my dad does not appreciate these kind of confrontations, especially in a foreign country, in a language he doesn't speak. My dad doesn't speak English. So out of respect for him, I bit my tongue and we left without purchasing more. So yes, I know what these comments are referring to because I felt it too, many times. But it is important to remember the root of all of this. And the root all goes back to this. And that's why I will never stop saying that all of us should unite. And let's not forget who profits of communities of color being against each other. Because it's none of us. We gotta stick together and we gotta do better. And whataboutism is never helping a conversation.
A lot of people seem confused and surprised about how 60% of Latino voters voted for Donald Trump after he's made countless racist and xenophobic remarks against not only Latinos, but also immigrants from other countries. But Afro-Latinos, we're not surprised at all. Racism is alive and well in the Latino culture with things like mejorar la raza, which means to better the race, which is like street eugenics. Calling your family members based on their skin tone, like negro, negrita, as a loving term, but it's obviously derogatory because the anti-blackness is so prevalent. And the craziest part, if we were able to break down the Afro-Latino votes from the white and mixed Latinos, we'd probably see that Afro-Latinos inflated the Harris support from Latinos.
The Black community standing up for the Hispanic community, I guess, while the deportations are going on.
Y'all got my back. I got y'all back. We in this together. It's time to fight.
Black and brown, we stand with you guys. I, for one, I am not with his decision. That's not right. We need to unite as one.
Hispanics act just like us. Shit, they family.
As you've just learned, millions of black peoples are Latinos. And if millions are Latinos, why the racism? Why the division? Why are we fighting amongst ourselves? However, I have learned throughout the years that every oppressed group of people will internalize the oppression and attack each other. They will not confront the oppressor. However, when the pressure mounts, they will fight amongst themselves.
If I hear one more person say, I don't know why we're so mean to each other and why we bully each other, there's really good reasons for that. It's called oppression. And for those of you who don't know me, I wrote my doctoral dissertation on bullying in the operating room, but it applies to all of us. And we know the reason why we're doing this. We're not willing to admit it and accept it and do something about it. In the pedagogy of the oppressed, it talks about how oppressed individuals are not able to lash up, so they lash sideways and they lash down. And it's exactly what we're doing. And all the other isms, aggressions, ageism, racism, all those other isms are a result of that. So we know. Now we got to figure out what to do about it. We need to understand our history in order to get to the future. One of the things you need to look at is how nursing education was taken away from nursing and put under a medical model. That's a fascinating topic.
Mexico's Vicente Guerrero Afro-Latino was the first black president of the Americas almost 200 years before the U.S. had Obama.
I will say what a lot of people won't say. This comment comes from a video that I made telling Black and Latino community to unite. Currently, there is less than 10% of people of color in STEM. Use my platform to make sure that children of color have better opportunities into these careers. But every time I speak about this, I get a lot of comments like this. Majority, if not all, come from the Hispanic Latino community. It breaks my heart to see the racism that exists in the Latino community. Racism against other Hispanics. Racism against Black people. I'm not saying all Hispanics. As an Afro-Latina, that breaks my heart.
Chico, tell me why black girls don't like Mexicans.
You know why the black girls don't like Mexicans?
Wait, Chico, wait.
This is Mexicans, right?
That's Mexican.
Yeah, and this is African American.
Mexico recognized its third root years ago as West African. This is very true. Spanish brought West Africans to Mexico and enslaved them in Mexico. Well, it was called New Spain at the time, since colonialism. So during that time, there was more West Africans in Mexico than Spaniards. And so it's really important to understand that Mexican culture, especially after colonialism, is very deeply Spanish, Indigenous, and West Africans, the three roots of Mexico. And so when you look at the whole culture, especially during colonialism, it is very much West African, and it is also very Indigenous, and it is also very Spanish. People need to understand that even the government has acknowledged its West African lineage, and there's even a census that recognizes West African or Afrodescendientes within Mexican culture or population. This is self-identified, obviously, but there are a lot of Mexicans who have African ancestry and probably don't know it or do not have the phenotype, but they do have the cultural lineage and they have the cultural legacy too. And even if Mexican people do not have African lineage, it is important to understand that they have the cultural lineage, that they benefit from the African culture that was brought to Mexico. And so it is important to recognize the third root.
As you just learned, Latinos are mixed with European, Taino, and also Black. So beyond the surface, we're connected genetically and historically. So why the division? Why are we fighting amongst ourselves when we should unite with each other?
Audre Lorde once said, "It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences." Let's embrace and celebrate the richness.
90% of the news outlets here in America are controlled by only 6 corporations. This is the result of decades worth of consolidation within the media industry. And what this means in practice is that as you're flipping through the channels on your TV, National Geographic, Sci-Fi, CNBC, Fox News, ESPN, ABC, VH1, and so on, you assume that there are so many different options, each offering you a different perspective on the world. But the reality is that the vast majority of these channels are owned by just 6 entities: Time Warner, Viacom, CBS, Disney, News Corp, and GE. And it's exactly this type of situation which leads to things like this.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Do you think that this massive media consolidation is the real threat to democracy?
To all the Latino men in the world who like black girls, who think we are beautiful, thank you. Because y'all give us the sweetest compliments. Because y'all, this week, we just started. What's today? Tuesday? All over the weekend, y'all have just said the most beautiful things. Hola, mami. Hi. Su pelo es muy bonita. Gracias. Tu sonrisa. Oh, you like my smile? Look, Latino men, we love y'all. We love y'all. Keep loving on us, because ain't nobody else trying to love on us. Keep loving on us. Please keep giving us those compliments. Y'all make us feel so beautiful. And if you really mean it, if you really single and mean it, ask us out. We'll go out. Baby, I love me some carne asada. Not a stereotype, I'm just saying.
Hey, Jose, is that true? Do Latino men treat the sisters better than black men?
But you don't date Spanish guys at all?
No.
Do you have any idea why?
I guess I like, first, I like dark complexion. And it seemed like every dark guy that I ever like, they're African American or Jamaican. I don't even like people I think that like is my race, just because I like to date people that are different from me. Like I like to date people that are not like me. I like their culture. I already know my culture. So I want something new to me.
Did you know that 60% of Mexico's population in 1776 had some West African ancestry? This includes Afro-Indigenous and Spanish, and West African ancestry. By 1821, the Afro-Mexican population grew to 6 million. The indigenous population before colonization was 25 million, and by 1640 it was 1.2 million because of the decimation by the Spanish. The marriage between West African people and indigenous people were the reason for the resurgence of the Afro-indigenous population in Mexico. 95% of Mexico's large city population was made up of Afro-Indigenous and West African people. This includes Guanajuato, León, Guadalajara, Morelia, San Luis Potosí, and Veracruz. This information is important because Mexicans need to unlearn the mestizaje myth and understand that their roots are West African and indigenous.
Y'all, it is something about natural hair and being in South America. Both Brazil and Colombia, the men, I don't know. I don't know. I don't experience this type of catcall in New York by any means. Like, especially with my natural hair, never. But here and in Brazil, and most of the times the comments is like either relating to my hair, which is the number one thing, or my skin complexion or my race. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Why are so many Latinos racist against Black people? Good question. So first of all, let me start by acknowledging that's the truth. And anyone that says otherwise is not helpful in this whole conversation. Like white people saying, I don't see color. Secondly, race is just a construct that was invented by European people intended to divide us, which they successfully managed to do. And unfortunately, just like many other purposefully marginalized communities, we play along exactly into the narrative of letting them divide us. We all have that tío or abuelito or papa in our family that is racist, that is, has issues with Black people or Asian people, or is homophobic or transphobic. And most likely it's more family members than not. The issue is that it's really difficult to have these conversations. But we need to have these conversations with our own community. We need to call out, call in, and educate our own family members, our own friends. And too often I see Latinos stay silent. And they say, oh, that's just how he is. And yes, I use he a lot because it's a lot of times the man, at least in my experience. And if you live in LA, you probably know the scandal we recently had with the leaked audio. For me, the only scandal really was that so many Latinos that I know pretended that that's a surprise. Really? That's exactly like white people pretending that they're surprised that racism exists. There are so many issues in our Latino community, from being anti-Black to brown people calling themselves white. I mean, please identify as whatever you want, but it's weird. To light-skinned Latinos like myself, pretending that they have the same racism to deal with as a Black person. And then there is the whole other layer of not being Latino enough, not being Black enough, not being brown enough. It's like our community is so busy tearing each other down that we lost sight of who is actually doing the oppression here. I had a US-born friend here in LA whose both parents were Mexican, but she has never been to Mexico and she doesn't speak Spanish. And she told me that in her opinion, I wasn't really Mexican, which I thought was funny. And I immigrated as an adult. I'm not even first generation. I'm a Mexican immigrant in the United States. But to her, just because my mom was European, that was enough to tell me I wasn't actually Latina. And those are the same kind of people that pretend that all Latinos are brown and act like Afro-Latinos don't exist. It's time for all of us to unite because together we're not the minority. We are the majority if we just have each other's back.
So as you just heard, race is a social construct that is used to divide us. But when you don't have the understanding of how power uses race to divide us, then you get caught into the trap. Education is always the key to understand the dynamics of the trap.
Now let's set the record straight. Latinos in the US are not just participating in the labor force, we are driving it. In the US, the labor force growth rate has slowed down over the past couple of decades, but the growth that has occurred is largely due to the increasing number of Hispanic workers. In fact, we are projected to account for 78% of net new workers between 2020 and 2030. The number of Hispanic workers is projected to reach 35.9 million in 2030. Now that's a huge number. Our work participation rate stands out as the highest among all other major groups, and that's something everyone should know.
Latinos make up roughly 19% of the overall U.S. population, but only 4% of full professors at colleges and universities are Latino, and only 9% of public school teachers are Hispanic of any race. While there's a lot of noise about the spread of ethnic studies recently, Chicano-Latino studies programs at colleges and universities are oftentimes some of the smallest and most severely underfunded programs on campus. These programs are important because they offer students the opportunity to study Chicano and Latino history. This helps with the retention and graduation rates of Chicano-Latino students and helps the overall university community to embrace multiculturalism. Additionally, faculty in these programs produce research that help us to better understand this still quickly growing community, and this in turn informs policymakers and shapes public policy that impacts Latino communities directly. Through their
Shout out to Black people and Latin women, because we went the hardest for Kamala. 60% of Latino women voted for Kamala, and 93% Black women voted for her. 85% of Black men voted for her. Shout out to us, because if we made up most of this population, she would be in right now. You can just think that 57% of the 71%. Just think the 57% of the 71%, but you can really thank the 37% who gave you 53% of him. You can thank them. That's all I'm gonna say.
My Latino and my Black brothers and sisters, go to school. AI is coming, the robots are coming, and you cannot keep relying on physical labor. Physical labor is becoming a thing of the past. You need to build the intellectual repertoire.
Soon as you turn on the television in Mexico, you will see a telenovela with people that look a lot like me.
But that's the problem, isn't it? Whether we identify as white presenting, white passing, or even just a white Latina, we benefit from the colorism that is so prevalent in our community. And no hate to this creator herself, because I love the way she advocates for the Latino community and using that privilege to do so. But that's what we need more of. As a Chicana, I can tell you firsthand how frustrating it feels when somebody says, well, you don't look Latina. Or if you are Latina, then prove it, speak Spanish. Or you're one of those whitewashed Latinas, aren't you? Tell that to my immigrant mom who raised me, you know? Stuff like that is so invalidating. But at the end of the day, we need to recognize who is most deeply harmed by the colorism that we benefit from. And that is Black and Indigenous Latinos. I say this all not to point blame at this creator or anybody else who uses the caveat of media in Latino America, Mexico specifically, but this is to point out the responsibility we have to use the colorism we benefit from to uplift our more marginalized Latino brothers and sisters. And by uplifting, I do not mean speaking over, I mean amplifying, encouraging, supporting, and creating safe spaces where darker-skinned and Black Latinos can feel comfortable being in spaces that can start on TikTok, that can start in conversations about politics in Latino America, and it can go as far as anywhere and everywhere you want to take it. And we must do this all while not upholding a white savior complex, but actively trying to dismantle the colorism that takes place in our communities.
Once you know this, you will never be able to unsee it. This is how every politician and group manipulates you. It's common enemy politics, and here's the formula. First, name an enemy. A country, a political party, immigrants, anti-vaxxers. They need an enemy and a gulf between you and them, a them that is noticeably different from you. Then produce a narrative of an attack by them on you. They're destroying our industries. They're destroying our democracy. They're taking our jobs. They're spreading disease. Then offer a solution to the problem. Vote for them, donate to them, keep them in power. In exchange, they will protect you because no one else will. They'll say the enemy despises you, but give them your loyalty, your money, and your minds, and they will keep you safe. And in return, you will only receive your own servitude.
As you can see throughout the video, there's more that unites us compared to what divides us. Many black persons have said that the deportation is not black people's fight, and many black persons should stay out of it. But is that really true? If your house caught fire, do you really care about the race of the person to assist you in to get rid of the fire? Or do you just need the help? We're all oppressed people, and we should not be separated by the color of our skin. We should not allow the media to manipulate us. We should look at the things that bind us together so we can work together. Because when we fight amongst ourselves, we're just revealing that we're weak, and we're also on the modern plantation where the masters can pit us against each other and we take the bait, hook, line, and sinker.
Hallelujah, show glory.
Black people and Latino must come together, because when you go beyond skin deep, we're connected via blood and we're connected via our DNA. I hope this video has given you more information for you to understand that there's more that unites us compared to what divides us. I want to thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.